Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Hope you're having a great day today. In this video, we're going to take our cheap $200 tube amp, we're going to replace the speaker in it, and check out the difference in tone. Now the amp we're using for today's comparison is the Monoprice all-tube combo amp. It's also branded Stage Right, so if you search for Monoprice or Stage Right, you'll find the amp. Comes with a 12-inch Celestion speaker. Now if you missed my initial demo on that amp, I'll put a link to it above. Long story short, it's a small footprint, ultra lightweight all-tube combo amp for 199 bucks US, which is not too bad. A lot of you guys sent me messages afterwards saying, you know, after you did the demo, they jacked the price up to about, $220, $230, which is super not cool. So, if you're a manufacturer and somebody uses your product on, their channel, don't jack up the price. Keep it the same before and after. That breeds much more goodwill, towards your customers. But anyway, that's the amp we're going to be using today. It's cheap. So far it's been reliable and it sounds great, but we're going to change out the speakers, see what we can do with the tone. Now the stock speaker in the Monoprice amp is the Celestion 7080, which is a fine speaker, but I don't find myself really loving it, and I have to use the EQ almost to the extremes to kind of get to the tones where I want. So what we're going to do is replace it with this very expensive Alnico speaker. Now the first speaker we're going to try out today is from WGS. This is the G12A from the American Vintage series. This is an Alnico speaker, and whichever brand you use, Alnico speakers are just super pricey. Usually between 200 and 300 bucks. It's the price of the amp and then some, but they give a tone that really nothing else can, so we're going to test it out. And the second speaker is this Eminence Cannabis Rex, a little bit of a legend in its own right, very popular speaker. It is much cheaper than the Alnico speaker because it does have a ceramic magnet, and of course it's got the cone made out of hemp. And this is supposed to give it a very, very warm and round sound, so it should be kind of diametrically opposed to the Alnico speaker, which should have a lot of presence and cut, but we're going to find out, and we're going to test the stock speaker too. Let's get to it and check out the tones. We'll be capturing the tone of the speaker and the amp with the Sennheiser E906 mic right on the grill. EQ section is just going to be at 12 o'clock, all the same for every speaker, and we're going to be using the very cool Relish Mary 1. All right, so now that we've had a listen to each one of those speakers, I want to talk a little bit about some of the strengths and weaknesses, in my opinion, of each of the designs. And then we're going to take a couple minutes and show you guys just how easy it is to physically replace a speaker in a combo amp like this. But let's start with my initial thoughts on each one of the speakers. All right, so let's start with the stock Celestion 7080. Great all-around speaker. I thought it sounds, good over, different gain stages and stuff like that. Normally, obviously, I wouldn't EQ my amp with everything on 12. It was very, very boomy in the bass end that way. So normally I would have my treble, 3/4, the presence 3/4, bass maybe at like 4 or 5, and the mids maybe slightly cut for like a really pristine clean tone. And this can get it. It just takes a little bit of EQing. So, strengths, it's very versatile. In the gain compared to the other two, I felt like maybe it was just slightly naturally scooped a little bit. And I did feel like with the gain, this one kind of, transmitted that EL84 buzz much more prominently than the other speakers. So very raw sound if you want something a little bit smoother. I don't know, if you find your amp is really buzzy when you get a lot of gain, this speaker probably won't help you that way, whereas some of the other ones probably will. But overall, great sounding speaker, affordable, sounds great in the stock amp. Next up, we listened to the WGS Alnico speaker. This one was far and away my favorite, and it should be because it's expensive. But it just has, sort of that clarity and presence that the other speakers couldn't keep up with. And, even though I wouldn't, again, EQ my amp at 12 o'clock for a speaker like this, I do feel like I would need less tweaking on amp EQ if I had this speaker in the cabinet. So yeah, just a sweetness to the high end, but didn't sacrifice the low end. Still really, really full, but the note attack and the clarity in the upper registers, the other speakers just, either weren't designed to replicate or couldn't because of magnet type. So yeah, this is a great option for cleans, for overdrives, for even rock, up to metal where I think it gets real thin and kind of weedy. But overall, really great speaker. Is it worth it? I don't know. I'll have to leave that up to you guys. And as for the Cannabis Rex, which is currently in the amp, it's a very interesting speaker. I'm going to go ahead and put that down. I think the amp only weighs maybe 25 pounds, so it's actually a pretty light tube amp. But anyway, yes, Cannabis Rex, very interesting. Of the three speakers, I found it to have the most, naturally EQ'd sound. Whereas I found the Celestion pretty neutral overall, maybe slightly scooped in some sounds. And, the WGS was just really present and full. This one had, I don't even know how to describe the EQ, but it had a very interesting EQ profile. Now, I did feel like the Cannabis Rex did the best job smoothing out some of that EL84 buzz, whereas the 7080, I felt like accentuated it. The Alnico speaker was bright, so you could still hear some of it, but I felt it maybe added a touch of sweetness to it that the 7080 didn't have. The Cannabis Rex just kind of like squashed down on the high end, but it did create a very, very smooth sound. So if you're always fighting and you want a smoother gain tone, might be a great speaker to check out. Now, another scenario where someone might benefit from the speaker is for the person who fights with ice picky tones. So if you're playing single coil pickups and that initial transient is just too fast, too bright, too biting, and you can't quite EQ it or get it under control, I think a speaker like this would do a great job kind of balancing that tone. So those are my initial reactions to these three speakers. Let's switch gears. I'm going to show you guys how easy it is to swap out a speaker in a combo amp. We're going to do it in like 2 minutes. Let's check it out. All right, you guys, let's transition and talk about how to remove a speaker in a combo amp. Well, in this case, with the monoprice amp, you have to remove 4 screws holding on the back panel. I've already done that, so we can just pull that right off. Now, some speakers, you're not going to have to remove the tubes. With the Alnico one, I definitely did, just because it is a little bit taller. I'll just show you guys quickly how to do that. All you have to do is flick the little retainers off and pull the tubes out. No gloves needed. These are not like halogen bulbs, so you can touch them with your hands. And I like to just set them out in the order that they are in the amp. 2 power tubes and 3 preamp tubes. Now, once that's done, pretty much ready to go. So we've got quick connects. The black wire goes to the negative. We can just slip that off. And these will just go on, they're universal, so they'll go on any speaker, okay? And the positive. So red is positive, black's negative. Now that we've got our wiring disconnected, there's 4 nuts and washers holding the speaker on. So all we have to do is grab our socket and remove those, and the speaker will pop right out. And that's pretty much the whole process. Once the nuts and washers are off the studs, the speaker can simply just be pulled up and carefully angled out. That's it. There you go. That's how you remove a speaker. And of course, installation is just simply the opposite. So I'll grab the stock speaker here. Oh, the dog wants out pretty bad apparently. So we'll just angle that in and carefully line up the studs. There you go. Let's watch our wiring. Okay, and that's it. There you go. Red to positive. I'm going to just clip that back on. Black to negative. So that's all there is to it. If you can use a screwdriver and a socket, you can do this job. I want to say a big thanks to everybody who supports the channel. I can't do videos like this without the support from you guys, so thanks for watching. Thanks for everybody who picks up a t-shirt or heads over to the tab store. Really appreciate it. Hope you enjoyed this video. Have a great week, you guys. Take care.